Hey, Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline Fans. You're with me, Mike Spiderslayer. Get ready to do another TV review. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about episode 13, the season finale of The Strain, otherwise known as The Master. That's right, fans. Once again, our group of ragtag heroes have come together to do battle against that Master. But what happens in the beginning of this episode, and what are my thoughts of this series altogether after this first season, I'll let you know. First, let me give you a little bit of a recap what happens in this particular episode of The Strain. First off, in the beginning, you get to see Ript Palmer. He's the man that's behind everything in his deathbed. In the last episode, you got to see the Master give him this white stuff, and he winds up taking it in, and he's like, "Thank you." You know, and all of a sudden in this episode, you wind up seeing that he's got his health back, and he goes into the pawn shop, and he winds up collecting all these things from the pawn shop. He comes across Mr. Eichhorst, which is the German, and he asks the German, he goes, "So when am I going to grow," which he points to his throat, is the tongue. And the German reassures him that the Master has given him the whites, but he hasn't given him the worm. And he is not quite yet ready to join this vampire gang. Also, in this episode, you wind up seeing that Mr. Palmer's bodyguard winds up resigning and leaving him in this episode because he wants no longer to do with what's going on in the world. Hopefully, he will join our group in Season 2, but it's the last time you see of him in this episode. Also, here we get to see F and Abraham and Vasily come together, and they're going to do this recon mission to find out where the Master could be, where the vampires are, and maybe a plan of attack on how to attack the Master. And we get to see the after effects of Nora here after beheading her own mother, and you know, her just looking on the rooftops, trying to figure out what was going on here, trying to recollect herself. F making sure that she was okay, and what's it called? And Nora goes to F and saying, you know, don't keep your son in the shadows. Let him know what's going on. Have him fight alongside of you. You know, it's going to hurt him in the end. And Abraham said the same thing in this episode too. You know, it's only going to hurt him. So after doing a brief recon, finding out where the Master's at and whatnot, our group comes together. You know, F has a touching scene with his son where he shows him the silver sword, how it's going to hurt the vampires. He shows him how to strike in the neck, in the body, things like that. You know, tries to contain Abraham on the side because Abraham's like all excited that his son's going to be a little vampire hunter now. And we get to see this mission start. Okay. In the process, now we also get to see Gus, the Mexican, who sits there, and he winds up getting kidnapped by these vampire hunters guys that are vampires, and we're not sure who they are, where they come from. We just know that they're good guys, it looks like. But we find out in this episode that Gus gets recruited by these guys. They want him to be the human that fights along these vampire hunters to stop the Master as well, because otherwise, because there has this truce that has been broken, and again, these guys want to do battle against the Master. Towards the end of this episode, you get to see this climactic battle between our heroes and the vampires. And it was cool to see the Master controlling them all through their eyes and everything else. And you get to see the German in there. You get to see the rock star that was in there. And everyone that was in there. And they do this battle. And it was really cool. It seemed like our heroes were a little slow at pulling the trigger on these vampires. But nevertheless, it was cool to see more beheadings, slashings of the head, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. And then you finally see Abraham go face to face against the Master. And you wind up seeing, you know, him being slow on the draw of getting his sword as the Master slaps the sword away. And we see F follow behind him with his son. They start breaking the windows, letting the sunlight in. It starts affecting the Master. The Master winds up falling outside the window. And you think that he's going to die. because he starts pulling back all his troops. But all that does is he stands up and you see a full reveal of the Master, and he goes scurrying down the building and he winds up retreating. And Abraham's in shock that the Master survived such direct sunlight. He could not believe what has happened. And now the group is forced to come together, regroup, and try to come up with another form of an attack towards the Master going into the second season. At the very end of this episode, you get to see them go back to F's house to try to get Zach's inhalers, and they wind up finally coming across Kelly. And Kelly winds up trying to communicate with her son through telepathy or whatever it was. And Zach couldn't believe what he saw, and he saw his mother as a vampire for the first time. And F winds up shooting her, and she kind of retreats, and you see that drink being taken by F, which he was a former alcoholic, which I didn't feel had a real impact on me because they didn't focus too much on it. So there is your episode in a nutshell. What do I think of this episode? I thought it was a good episode. I thought the ending was really well done. I thought it took a lot to lead up to this particular point in this particular episode, because they went downstairs, they went down the tunnel, they gathered their information, went back up, had another discussion. Finally, in the last 10 minutes, is where everything just really started going balls to the walls. And it just then, after the attack, it just kind of ended, and it didn't leave you with this huge cliffhanger. It just kept you wondering, okay, what's going to happen next season? And the biggest thing, I think, with the reveal was Gus going to be recruited by these vampire ancients. I think that was the biggest reveal there and where he's going to fit in. I think, you know, Abraham in the series has done a really good job at guiding these people on getting to know these vampires, how they work, and gathering a good group to try to stop them. I think that he's done a really good job in this series at doing that. And I think another good character in here has been Vasily as well. He's just been that guy that, you know, has been a go-getter. He doesn't stop. He's not afraid of anything. And he's got some good humor in the show, and I enjoyed that. F has been a fairly good lead in the series. I think he's adequate for the role. Nora has been a nice addition. I would love to see her more. She's kind of been in the background in the past couple of episodes, keeping track of her mother. Hopefully now that she wants revenge because of her mother's death, she'll be more involved in season 2. Again, I would like to see Gus more and see how he fits in this whole thing. And I really like the German, and I'm happy he did not die, because I think he's that creepy old German guy that's just the right-hand man of the Master, and I really enjoy him. I think this series at times was slow. They had filler episodes to fill in all 13 of this first season. But overall, it was a good show, and I found myself really enjoying it more and more as time goes on. When I first saw the first episode of this series, I wasn't on board. I was like, worms? I'm like, what are these worms and this weird creature in this hooded mask? It just seemed generic and a little bit off. But as time goes on, it sets its own tone. I think it's its own show, and something that we haven't quite seen before, because it's not your typical vampire and it's not your typical zombie. It's like they're a mix between two creatures, and I like that. And I like how the worms infect the people and they go through this metamorphosis, and I enjoy that. So it has some different elements there that we've never seen before in this horror genre that we've been watching for the past few years. So overall, as an episode, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. It seems to be where the strain falls for me. It usually falls between 3.5 out of 4 stars. And then as I give overall series first season, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I think, the first episode didn't quite do it for me, but The second, third, fourth episodes were really good. There's a couple filler episodes. Then there were some other really good episodes. And then there was your, solid episodes. So overall, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It deserves my attention for season 2. And I think this was the setup season to see what things are to come when I think possibly these vampires are actually going to take over the United States. So guys, stay tuned for season 2 of The Strained, and that was the last review from The Strained from me. Next week, The Walking Dead will be reviewed by me. So instead of The Strained, we're just going to go on with The Walking Dead and do the series premiere. So hopefully you like these reviews of The Strained, and hopefully you'll like my reviews of The Walking Dead. So guys, as always, thank you for watching Comic Frontline. Leave me your comments below what you thought of this episode. And as always, fans, thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye.